Okay, we're going to start right now in a minute. Just I'm trying to take roll. Make sure that you post your name on the attendance document. Also, post your name on the group chat.
Sir, can you post again the attendance document?
You got to post your name on the attendance document and also on the group chat. Thank you. Yeah, on the group document, um, I'll send the link again. Oh, and we'll start right now. We'll be starting right now. Just give me a minute. Okay, so today's agenda is September 1st. Today's date is September 1st. Here's the agenda. I can solve equations by factoring, completing the square, and using the quadratic formula. I will provide you the video session here. Okay, does everybody see where it's going to be? Here's a video session. Also, we're going to start with playing Quizalize. We're going to do the lesson, which is solving equations by factoring. And then we're going to watch the video, and then I'm going to assign Khan Academy videos and exercises. I do want to share with you quickly how to download the TI-84 calculator. This is how you download it. You first got to download the Wabbit EMU. So you click here and you download the Wabbit EMU. Okay. Then you want to download the RAM. It's a ROM, sorry, ROM. And you want to keep it on the desktop so that you can easily find it. And the one I'm using is a TI-84. Okay. And I'm going to share the screen as to how to make it work. So just give me a minute while I show you my main screen. So you can see here is the Wabbit EMU, and then here is the ROM. All you would have to do is get the ROM. You see how I'm getting the ROM, and just click on, just let it drag in there, and it's gonna, and this calculator will come up. Okay. So if some of you are still needing a calculator, that is an option for you. Okay. All right. If you guys have any questions as to how to do it, you can send me an email, or you can chat with me, or however you want to do it, so I can help you to get a calculator. Okay. All right. So we're going to go to this website, which is called Quizalize. If you were with me last year, you know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to go ahead and send you the link. So go to Quizalize, and it's going to say hello. Type your class code here, and what is your class code is the NUF 4928. Okay. So you're gonna go ahead and click. You're gonna go ahead and enter the NUF 4928. Click it. It's gonna ask you for your email. It's gonna be your ID at mistisd.net. It's your mystisd.net email, and your password would be your ID. Okay. So I repeat, it is your mystisd email, mystisd email, and the password is your ID. Okay. If you're not able to get in, let me know and I will help you. Is there somebody that hasn't been able to get in? Okay, so let me work on that. I have 2 people that are in right now, I see. Okay, so I'm gonna work with that person that can't get in. If you can't get in, let me know. Okay, I'll work with you right now. Let me get to that place, okay? Thank you guys for being patient. So the first person, okay. Let me get to that. Oh, okay. So okay, you're okay. Okay, who is not in yet? For those that just came in, we are playing Quizalize. For those that came in, we are playing Quizalize. Here is the site. Here is the class code. And the way you log in will be your email at mystisd.net, and your password is your ID. Okay. Right now, I only have 3 people that have logged in. I only have 3 people. So who hasn't been able to get in? Yes, you start. If you're in, you start. Who hasn't been able to get in? I only have 3 people. No, it doesn't look like it's learning. Let me show you the okay, you have to go to this site. No, it's different than it's learning. It's a different platform, but you go to this site, you type in the class code, you type in the class code, and your password and your email. I mean, your password is your username is your email address at mystisd, and then your password is your ID. Okay, now I have 6. Good, I have 6. Now I just need 3 more, I think. Yeah, 3 more. If you can't get in, let me know so I can help you. We usually start the class with a game just to get you motivated for the class. Okay, so you do have 2 attempts on this. Okay, you can't get in. Okay, let me send you your username. Your username is your ID, your email. Here's your username. And then your password is your ID. It's those digits that is in front of the at. That is your password. That is your password. So I have 6. I'm missing 3. Who isn't able to get in? Please let me know if you're not able to get in. Everybody should be participating. Okay, so I'm going to send you your password. That is your password. Try it with your uh, your email address, and then that is a password. Remember, you are going to zzi.sh. Go to zzi.sh, and then you are going to place the code, and then it's going to prompt you for your username and password. I'm missing 3 people. If you can't get in, you need to let me know. Now I have 7 people. I'm missing 2. I'm missing 2. You will have 2 chances. You will have 2 chances to score a higher grade. This is for a grade. Score the highest grade. I guess that's what I want to say. Who hasn't been able to get in? For those that are not in, I just text you. I'm going to give you another 5 more minutes, and then we'll continue with class. Okay, you do have a username. Okay, let me try it. Let's see what's going on. I'm sending you your password. I mean, your username. Then your password is and this is where you go to. Okay. So next time I'll have another game. Eh, Next time we'll have another game, and we'll probably play against each other somehow. Try to make it interesting. I'm gonna click out of it. Click out of this. Okay. So, okay. That was the other class. Today is September 1st. Like I said, we are solving equations by factoring, completing the square, and using quadratic formula. We just finished playing Quizalize, and next time we'll have like a game. The lesson that you have to print, I'm going to give it to you here. Now, I do want all of you to go to It's Learning. I do have a pre-formative. So please go to It's Learning, and I forgot to attach it. If you did it, that's great. If you haven't, that's what I'm giving you time. I'm going to give you 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Go to It's Learning. Remember that these pre-formatives are not that they're a free grade, but it really helps your average because they're minor assessments, even though there's participation. You want to go to the pre-formative that says solve by factoring. Let me see. Yeah, pre-formative, solve by factoring. Click on this. And go ahead and start working on it. There we go. There's 10 questions. So if you don't finish it, that's fine. But you have 10, I'm going to give you 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes to work on it. So go ahead and begin. So I'm giving you another 8 minutes to do your pre-formative on its learning. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and print out what we're going to be working on. These are the examples that I'm going to be giving you on the video. We're gonna solve equations by using the completing the square method. We're gonna solve each of these equations by factoring, and then we're gonna use a quadratic formula. Make sure you print this out. If you're unable to print this out, then I recommend you showing all your steps on a separate sheet of paper. One of these days, I might require that to be an assignment grade, so I'm gonna be telling that to all my classes. So just be prepared. One of these days, I might say, take a snapshot and please submit that as a grade for a daily grade for today, okay? But it's not going to be today. I'm just warning you, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and click on the video. We're going to solve number 1. We have m squared plus 6m minus 43 is equal to negative 7. We're going to solve it by making the left-hand side a perfect square. Before we do that, we're going to add 43 to both sides. So you have m squared plus 6m equals 36. Now, in order for us to make it into a perfect square, we need to find that c value. So the c value is done by getting the coefficient b and divide it by 2, and then you square it. So c is equal to 3 squared, which gives you 9. So you're going to add 9 to both sides. So you have m squared plus 6m plus 9 is equal to 36 plus 9. And I want to point out this value c is going to make this into a perfect square. What I mean by perfect square, you're going to see two factors that are the same that you can square, and then you'll be able to get the square root of both sides. Now the 9 is going to make it happen. But remember that we're on a balanced equation here. So if I add 9 to the left-hand side, I have to add 9 to the right-hand side. So 36 plus 9 gives you 45. And then I'm gonna continue it. At one point, I'm gonna make a mistake, and I want you to see what the mistake is gonna be, okay? If you look at the left-hand side, that is a perfect square. So what do you have? M plus 3 times m plus 3, and that's equal to 45. So instead of having m plus 3 times m plus 3, you're going to have m plus 3 to the second power, which is equal to 45. And then if you have a square, you want to get the square root of both sides. So m is equal to plus or minus the square root of 45. So what error did I do? Go ahead and type that in the group chat. 30 seconds to respond. What error did I do? I'm saying m is equal to plus or minus square root of 45. What is the error that I just finished doing on the video? And I'm checking for understanding. I want to see if you're paying attention. Okay, good, good. So I only have one person that is following. I hope most of you are following along and taking notes. I do expect you to participate. That's part of your grade. The person that responded is correct. I forgot to subtract 3. 5, and if we were to simplify, it'd be m is equal to 5. So this is m plus 3 is equal to square root of 45. You subtract 3 from both sides. So m is equal to negative 3 plus or minus square root of 45. Square root of 45 can be simplified. So you have m is equal to negative 3 plus or minus the square root of 9 times 5. And we know that 9, you can find the square root of 9 is 3. So the two values are negative 3 plus or minus 3 square root of 5. So we have p squared minus 20p minus 63 is equal to 6. And we're going to solve this by completing the square. I do want initially my variables on the left side, so I'm going to add 63 to both sides. And I'll erase this so it won't get in the way. So we have p squared minus 20p is equal to 69. Can anybody tell me what C is going to have to be for it to be a perfect square? I'll give you a minute to answer that. Can somebody tell me, and I'd like the whole class to respond, what does C have to be for it to be a perfect square? We got to find C. C is a value that's going to complete this square. That's going to complete this into a perfect square. So C is going to be negative 20 divided by 2 squared. So C is equal to 100. So I have p squared minus 20p plus 100 is equal to 69 plus 100. So here you're going to have p minus 10 raised or squared, but I'm going to go ahead and say it right. P minus 10 times p minus 10 equals 169. So you have p minus 10 to the second power is equal to 169. Get the square root of both sides. So you have p minus 10 is equal to the square root of 169 is 13, but it can also be negative. How do we get 100? You see where C is up here? The value of C, you're going to have to get negative 20 divided by 2 is negative 10. Negative 10 to the second power is 100. That's how we got 100. So we have to add 100 to both sides, and that gives us 169. This is a perfect square. You see how it's the same term, I mean, not term, same factor. So p minus 10 to the second power. Get the square root. 169 is a perfect square. So the square root of 169 is 13 and negative 13. So now we're left with 23 and negative 3. Solve for p. In this case, p can be 23 or p can be negative 3. Number 3, we're going to solve by completing the square. Once again, I want to have the variables on one side. I want these variables on one side. And so what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to address that negative 33. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 33 to both sides. And then what I get is v squared plus 6v equals 39. Then what you're going to do is you're going to find C. C is going to make this into a perfect square. C is going to make this into a perfect square. In other words, when I say perfect square, it's going to make it into parentheses times parentheses. It'll be the same factor, and it'll equal to 39. So you get 6. Okay, so let's do some mental math. What is the value of C? I've given you several examples. Can you find, and your own, not in your own words, but can you figure it out mentally and tell me what is C in your, go ahead and display it on the group chat. I'm also providing you the video link. Everybody should be participating. Everybody should be participating. How did we get C? Go ahead and explain how we got C in your own words on the group chat. If you want to send it privately to me, that's fine. Okay, you're being honest. So how do we get C? Somebody in the classroom knows how to get it. You want to explain to everybody how we got C? Yeah, you're not going to explain. You're going to write it out on the group chat. I've muted everybody. You write it out on the group chat. To find C, you have to divide 6 by 2. 6 divided by 2 gives you 3. And then you square it and you get 9, and that's going to make it into a perfect square. So I'm going to go ahead and let it play.
So you have 6 divided by 2, and then you have to square it. So C is equal to 3 squared, which gives you 9. So I'm going to go ahead and erase this. So what I have is V squared plus 6V plus 9 equals 39 plus 9. Okay, so this will be V plus 3 times V plus 3, because that's a perfect square. How can I check? 3 times 3 is 9. V times 3 is 3V. 3 times 3V is 3V, so that's 6V, and then V times V is V squared. Equals 9 plus 9 is 8. 18. That's 48. So what you have here is V plus 3 raised to the second power is equal to 48. Now this, you can solve this equation by finding the square root of both sides. So you have V plus 3 is equal to plus or minus the square root of 48. 48 can be simplified. V plus 3 is equal to plus or minus square root of 16 times 3. So V plus 3 is equal to plus or minus square root of 16 times the square root of 3. Subtract 3 from both sides, so V is equal to negative 3 plus or minus 4 square root of 3. We are going to solve this quadratic by completing the square. Once again, we want the variables on one side. In other words, the a squared plus 4a we want by itself. The negative 48 we want to address. And how do we address that? We add 48 to both sides. So we have a squared plus 14a is equal to 58.
I'm going to pause it. I'm going to launch a poll. I want everybody to answer. For question 4, what is the value of C? And you should be able to do it mentally. What is the value of C? For question 4, what is the value of C? To get the value of C, you have to get 14a divided by 2, which gives you 7. Then you have to raise it to the power 2. So 7 squared is 49. And you have to add 49 to both sides.
Now we have to find C. What's going to make it a perfect square? You have to get the coefficient in this case, b. You get the coefficient b divided by 2 and then squared. So 14 divided by 2 is 7. 7 squared gives you 49. So what you're going to do is you're going to add 49 to both sides. So we have a squared plus 14a equals 58 plus 49. So the left-hand side here,
And you add 49 to both sides because you want to have a balanced equation. The 49 is going to make this into a perfect square. So you have a plus 7 times a plus 7, which is going to be a plus 7 squared, and then 58 plus 49, whatever that's going to be, you're going to have that on the right side.
this left-hand side is a perfect square. So what do we have? We have a plus 7 times a plus 7 is equal to 58 plus 49. 58 plus 49 gives you 107. So you have a plus 7 raised to the second power gives you 107. And then you get the square root of both sides. So you have a plus 7 is equal to plus or minus square root of 107. Subtract 7 from both sides. So it's negative 7 plus or minus square root of 107. We're going to solve 6 by factoring. So we're going to rewrite this as everything on one side. So you're going to subtract n and subtract 12. So you have n squared minus n minus 12 is equal to 0. You are going to find the factors of negative 12 that when you add up will give you the middle coefficient, which is negative 1.
Can you give me two numbers that you can multiply to give me a negative 12? Write it on your Zoom group chat. What are two numbers that you multiply that will give you negative 12? By the way, this is called the factor sum method. You got to find the factors of negative 12. What are two numbers that you multiply that will give you a negative 12? Okay. And what you want is when you find those two numbers, you're going to either subtract or add, and you're going to get the middle coefficient. This is called the factor sum method.
So you're going to list all the factors. So you have 4. You have 4. You have negative 4 times 3. 3 times negative 4.
And I should have switched the
So
signs
that gives
here.
you negative 12. That gives you negative 12. But now you got to check. When you add them or subtract, when you add them, will they become negative 1? So you have negative 4 plus 1 gives you, negative 4 plus 3 gives you negative 1. Negative 3 plus 4 gives you 1. So it should be the factor of negative 4 and 3. So these are the factors of 12. And you want to figure out the ones that are going to add up to give you the middle coefficient, which is negative 1. So in this case, the factors are n, you have n, and you have negative 4, and then you have n plus 3 equals 0. So now you have the first factor, which is n minus 4. The second factor is n plus 3, that equals 0. So now you have n minus 4 is equal to 0. N plus 3 equals 0. Add 4 to both sides, so n equals 4. Subtract 3 from both sides, so n equals negative 3. So once again, we're going to solve this by factoring. So we have r squared plus r minus 56, since I want everything on one side.
Go ahead on the group chat, give me two numbers that will multiply to give you negative 56. Because those are the factors that we're looking for. Also, I'm going to make a mistake here. And when I tell you to explain the mistake, also explain the mistake on group chat. I do expect more than one person participating.
Equals 0. So now you got to give me the factors of 56. I think they're 8 and 7. 8 times 7 gives you 56. So we have 8 times 7. Remember, it has to be negative. So let's say negative 7, then we have negative 8 times 7. So we're going to subtract 8 minus 7 gives you 1. Negative 8 plus 7 gives you negative 1. So the one that you're going to use will be 8. The factor is 8 and negative 7 because that gives you the middle coefficient. So now what you're going to do is you're going to write your first parentheses and your second parentheses. Since it's a factor of, there's two factors, there's two answers because the degree is 2. We have r minus 8 and then we have r plus 7. We're going to set each of these equal to 0. So r minus 8 equals 0. R plus 7 equals 0. We're going to add 8 to both sides. So our first answer is r equals 8. And our second answer is r equals.
Okay, there's a mistake. Write down what is the mistake. Write down in your own words on the group chat. Write down what is a mistake in these steps. I'm going to give you a minute. Okay, I want everybody to look at the steps here, and there is a mistake in my step. I've only had one person respond to me. I need more people responding. Okay. Okay, I'm going to let it run.
Negative 7. There's a mistake here. It should have been plus 8. And this is r minus 7. So this is r plus 8. And this is r minus 7. So we're actually subtracting 8 from both sides. So our first answer is negative 8. And we're actually adding 7 to both sides. So r is equal to 7. B squared minus 1 is a difference of perfect squares. So it's going to be b plus 1 times b minus 1 equals 0. So b plus 1 equals 0, b minus 1 equals 0. So you subtract 1 from both sides, so b equals negative 1. And you add 1 to both sides, so b equals 1. This is a difference of perfect squares.
If you don't remember difference of perfect squares, then I recommend Googling.
We're going to use a quadratic formula to solve.
Okay, because I want you to research that. That was taught you in Algebra 2, difference of perfect squares, all right? We're going to solve each of these using the quadratic formula. I'm going to kind of fast forward here to the actual working out part. You have to identify A, in this case it's 2. You have to identify the B coefficient, which is not there, so it's 0. And then I'm going to let it run.
And then the C coefficient is negative 1. So our formula is negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 2 times a divided by we're going to solve these equations using the quadratic formula. Remember that you have a x squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. You first have to identify a, b, c. We know that the formula is x equals negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac divided by 2 times a. So in our problem, a is going to be 2. B, we don't have a middle coefficient, so that's going to be 0. And c is negative 1. So all you have to do now is substitute. So you have x equals plus or minus square root 0 squared minus 4 times a times c divided by 2 times 2. So we have 0 squared is gone. We have plus or minus square root. Negative 4 times 2 is negative 8. Negative 8 times 1 is 8. 8 over 4. We know that the square root of 8 is the same thing as saying square root of 4 to the square root of 2 divided by 4. So you have 2 times the square root of 2 over 4. That's plus or minus. So that simplifies to plus or minus square root of 2 over 2. 10, we have to have it in standard form. So we have to move the 2a to the left side. So we have 3a squared minus 2a plus 2 is equal to 0. We have to identify the a value, or the coefficient is 3. B coefficient is negative 2. And c coefficient is 2. So now the formula is negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4 times ac divided by 2a. So the value of b is going to be negative 2, but there's a negative. So a negative and a negative becomes positive 2, plus or minus square root. b is negative 2, negative 2 squared, minus 4. A is going to be 3, and then c is 2. Divided by 2a, which is going to be 3. So we have 2 plus or minus square root. Negative 2 to the second power is 4, minus 4 times 3 is 12. 12 times 2 is 24. Divided by 2 times 3 is 6. So we have 2 plus or minus square root of negative 20 over 6.
So I have square root. It's not working. Oh, here it is. Okay, so I have square root of negative 20. And what's the problem with square root of negative 20? What happens with the square root of negative 20? What do we get? You can't get the square root. It says non-real answer, but there actually is an answer. Yep, that's right. It's an imaginary number. It is an imaginary number. You can't find the square root of a negative 20. It's an imaginary number. So I'm going to let it run.
Square root of negative 20 can be simplified. So you have 2 plus or minus square root of 4 times the square root of negative 5 over 6. Square root of 4. Square root of 4 is 2. So you get 2 plus or minus 2 square root of negative 5 over 6. It simplifies to a third. So you have 1 plus or minus square root of negative 5 over 3. Square root of negative 5 is an imaginary number, so this should be I square root of 5. So your answer will be 1 plus or minus I square root of 5 over 3.
And that's the lesson for next time. Imaginary numbers, complex numbers. We have 3 more minutes. I'm going to tell you what's going to be on your assignment. You're going to solve quadratic by factoring. You're going to solve a problem with the quadratic formula, and you're going to have to do completing the square. You have all these exercises to do. Let me see if I can get to Khan Academy. I'm going to go ahead and log in. And I want you to log in so you can kind of follow along what I'm doing. Okay. So we go to Khan Academy. Your period is 4B. Assignments, manage. Okay. So let me tell you when it's due. I did assign it on August 30th, so it's due September 11th. Solving equations by completing the square, completing the square intro, completing the square, that's a video, so you have two different exercises. The quadratic formula, you have this video that you have to watch, and then also factoring. If you have not been able to get in, I need to get you a code to get into class. So if you haven't been able to access Khan Academy, please send me a note so I can make sure that I can try to get you in. But that is the assignment that is due on September 11th. Hopefully all of you know your averages. I did post your average. If you have any questions about grades, please text me on Remind or on the group chat, or you send me an email. Are there any questions about your assignments? If you failed your exam, you need to come in. If you failed your exam, you need to come in and make sure that you make up that exam. You work out the exam with me, and then you can retest, okay? I'm gonna send you the class code to Khan. For anybody that hasn't been able to log in to Khan Academy. We have a couple of minutes. I don't know if anybody has any questions before I let you go. Okay. If there is no questions, then you're free to go. There is an exit ticket. There is one. I'm glad you reminded me. It's right here. Make sure you do it before you leave, and then you are free to go. Have a good afternoon. Make sure you work on all the assignments. Make sure that you have turned in everything by September 3rd. I have given you your averages either through email or I've shared it to you privately. If you have any questions, let me know. Class will end in a minute or two, okay? Have a good afternoon, guys.